Can I ask you, how many of you have siblings? And may I ask you another question? How many of you have a challenge in the relationship with your siblings? My name is Cheryll Stewart, and I have a sibling with whom I have a challenging relationship. I found some major reasons for challenges in sibling relationships are competition for parental attention, differences in personalities and interests, power struggles, age differences, jealousy, and lack of communication. In my case, it was inheritance. In a 2019 study conducted by Cornell University, it indicated that roughly 27% of the adult population is experiencing family estrangement, and roughly 9% can be attributed to sibling relationship fallout. In reflecting, you may have thought that you're hit by a life-size boulder because you never saw something coming, or you never thought that you would have been the person for a most important role. I sometimes wonder, why me? But it is Selena Gomez who said, I believe that everyone is born with a purpose and that we're all created for something special. I am the youngest daughter of 13 siblings that I know of. And I had the responsibility of dispensing my father's assets. What I've learned from this experience, I think it's important enough to share. I'm not promising you that it's the best, but it's an attempt to make it better. But this is what I did. 1, I talked about it. 2, I used my power base to get results or to minimize conflicts. 3, I adjusted my expectations when met with disappointing behaviors. 4, I focused on moving forward. 5, I protected my inner being. Now let's work this through. 1, talk about it. You may have heard through the grapevine that a family member or someone you know is experiencing a challenge in the relationship with their siblings. But no one comes out directly to talk about it. Because as families, we tend to safeguard and protect each other by not sharing things we're uncomfortable with, as it is ever so important to present our families in a positive light to the public. I've heard stories from third-party sources with their own spin or take on the situation. One that I can recall, a negative impression painted of my unfeeling to have chosen to attend a work-related conference instead of my aunt's funeral. Now, when we talk about situations, we normally talk to a professional. You find that it diffuses the level in an emotionally charged situation. But can I tell you a secret? Where I come from, they don't like to talk to professional counselors, as it is seen in a negative light. I have been guilty of entering situations with my emotions on my sleeve, in my face, just about anywhere you can imagine. You all can guess the result of that discussion. I had invited my sibling to talk in a public place. And at that point, I laid out the terms on which I was willing to be engaged, but refused to move forward unless I got my way. He began talking loudly. People began staring at us. And in the end, I got up, walked out of the hotel lobby, leaving him sitting at the table. What I've learned from this interaction is it is not always wise to enter a potentially explosive situation without first agreeing on the approach, or maybe to include a mediator who can guide and manage the situation. Because sometimes emotion creates commotion. 2, use your power base to get results or minimize conflict. Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have to work with others to get the best possible outcome? When you think of a football team, you know they place their players in what we call a winning formula. There's this one player, however, who is called a striker. He's the most talented and skillful player who makes his team shine. And if we carefully observe, you'll find that most strikers tend to wear number 10 on their jerseys. Do you know these great strikers? Lionel Messi of Argentina, Kylian Mbappe of France, David Modise and Joe Mosomo of South Africa. They all wear number 10. Because of his skills and talent, you'll find him most often center field or beyond, creating opportunities for possession of the ball. What you'll find is other players are passing the ball forward to him, while spectators wait with bated breath for the power play, as his only task is to create goals from those passes. I recall a situation where one of my siblings made a power play by silently canvassing to get enough votes from the 11 of us that quickly created a decision at our family meeting. 3, adjust your expectations when met with disappointing behavior. You may sometimes in your life have situations where a commitment was made to you, but it was left hanging. You had to fix it. We had a challenge with a utility company where they charged us a huge sum of money for services we never used. I was shocked to find out. And it is interesting. You may even find this funny. But what we found out was our neighbors were taking a free ride on our dime. My brother had promised to handle the situation. It didn't happen. I had to fix it. So I had to understand that even though I was disappointed, he may have been prevented from completing this task, something that he never explained to us. 4, focus on moving forward. There are times in our lives where things seem to be happening where you're put in a chaos. But you know you have to really focus and get it done. So, out of habit, when these things happen, we tend to look skyward. And sometimes We see birds flying. Do you see them flying in a V formation? This simple strategy takes them to their destinations timely and efficiently. With careful coordination and synchronization, shared direction and focus, all the flock move forward together. But if one gets ill, one or two others stay behind until it's safe to fly again. But the others continue on their journey. The one that leads has the strength, skills, expertise, knowledge of route, but he always has to fly against the wind. Just like me, boundaries were constantly being pushed to get reactions, but I had to keep things going. What I learned is that I couldn't do it alone. Top of mind are the words, birds can only fly if they're open their wings. 5, protect your inner being. Have you ever been in a position where you feel that you are the most responsible person, you're the most dependable person? Have you? Yes? And when placed in such a position, you would do all possible to get a positive result? Well, at that time, I also was having some personal challenges. In my quest to get everything done, I found myself having sleepless nights and unhealthy habits. I realized I had to take care of me. The gym was where I started. And even though each day I journeyed there with trepidation, and for that 1 hour could only focus on getting the exercises done, I realized that 1 hour me time was just what the doctor ordered. After the first 3 months, I flushed the unwanted habits and began smiling again. Looking back, however, we tend to see 2020 hindsight. And with that perspective, I would have done things differently. I would grab the authority vested in me, showing the utmost respect to my siblings, but firmly sitting in the driver's seat as was intended by my late father. I take responsibility for what has happened to date. Many of my decisions were based on emotions because I thought I knew my siblings. I would still use the same 5-step strategies shared with you, focus, even though I sought to lose close and harmonious relationship early in the game. Ladies and gentlemen, love your siblings, but above all, love yourself. All that I've shared with you are my attempts to fix the relationship with my sibling. I hope that we've all learned from this experience, even that which I couldn't share with you. Just remember, sometimes emotions create commotions. We all continue to fix ourselves because life is a struggle. Despite all that has happened, I'm still seeing my sibling through the lens of love, and I hope that one day he will too. This I leave with you, according to Selena Gomez. You're all chosen for something special. Thank you.